geopolitics and certain things that are driving. And the Nigerian currency, I think the prediction as that last week or so was that Nigeria and Kenya or South Africa, that their currencies will firm up based on some, global, issues that are happening with the financial markets and all of that. So for 2-3 days or 1 week, I think it's too early to jump to a conclusion because there are several, issues around it. Some will even tell you, oh, maybe because of the interest rate cut, and all of those things. But if you look at it carefully, it's not just Nigeria, it's across the world, and for certain clear reasons. Also, don't forget, especially the Nigerian currency depends on what happens in the global oil market. And if you know what is happening between US and Iran, it's been close to an outbreak of exchange of fire, as it were. They are going back to talks over the Tehran nuclear weapon program on Thursday. Thursday is today.
Yes.
Yeah, today they are supposed to resume the talks today. So it's several things between now and tomorrow. With the decision of what will happen at that talks, as to, the markets. Look at the Asian markets throughout this week since the Chinese, the Korean, and which other market came back from the holiday, the New Year,
the annual
New Year holiday. It's been crazy for them.
And one thing, because what you're saying here is that the level of the naira, the exchange rate of the naira, is not all about domestic forces. It's also externally oriented. And I agree with you. US, for instance, okay, let me begin with China. China has persistently made its yuan to be weak.
Yeah.
Why? Because the weaker it is, the more enticing it will be for you to buy their goods. Their goods will be cheaper wherever you're buying it from. So Trump's US now has seen what China has done over the years, and I said, what do we really gain if we have a strong dollar? So the US government is deliberately weakening the dollar to make its own export cheaper. So that's what China has done, and that's what US wants to do. Yes, there are some factors within Nigeria that may have contributed to the naira coming down, like we're not spending so much on fuel importation and all that, but majorly the reasons are externally induced. US indeed trying to make its dollar weak because Trump's US is about trade. He's focusing on trade. US export of these manufactured goods, and for that to really compete with Chinese goods, then you have to also weaken the dollar.
Yes, it's a fact, and the tariff to is what it is. Going by the U.S. Supreme Court judgment recently, and what the pronouncement of Trump and his warning that those who have reached agreement, with the U.S. should not go back, because if they do, he will increase it the more. So
even after the U.S. Supreme Court has told him he lacks the powers to unilaterally impose such tariff.
So it's what it is. Almost everybody is looking at it. China, they've tried to have a strong hold. Don't forget they even have a currency swap or so policy with Nigeria
that we never implemented.
So we'll look at it closely, and see how most of these things will turn out, especially in the but just like the president, when he was a candidate in 2023, said, now statistics will show up, when Peter Obi was busy rolling out statistics and all of that. But now the government is a specialist in statistics. I can tell you, give them the end of this, they will go to and say they should, because it's just a flash in the pan. They'll tell you how macro indices are talking, and people, yes, if we go to the market, to be very honest, prices have stabilized.
Prices
have stabilized. Yes. It's not like those days when you go, you are not sure of what you are going to get. Now,
if there's any movement, it's downward
movement, or maybe just a slight difference here and there, and all of that. And that's the stabilization that the president, has been talking about. Whether we're out of the woods, like he told the governors and all of that, is what we don't know. There are a lot of things that need to be done. The years we could have gotten the the financial aspect of it right, but the fiscal policy, I keep on saying it time again and again. Government needs to spend. And where almost all the MDAs are going, we are not getting money, we are not getting money. But even they talk about not getting money, I'm beginning to question it. Because when the Minister of Health went there, I told every Nigerian that they got how many 20-something million or 30-something million out of how many billion. But 2 days or so ago, the president, I think yesterday, he was represented by the SGF judge, said, look, they released how many billions for primary health care. So I was asking myself whether that is a health budget, a health relief money and they say that is the highest, such single release, in recent history. So when they go and start making, we need no money, they're not releasing money, you need to interrogate it properly, from what we are seeing. But government, the fiscal policy, clearly we've not gotten it right.
And it's the fiscal policy that will now make the impact in the desired sectors. Yes, you talked about the statistics we go chop.
I didn't say so. The president,
you quoted the president about the statistics we go chop. Things, the world is dynamic. Changes are constant. The only thing that does not change is change because it must come. And I'm a strong advocate of erosion or replacement of these macroeconomic indices that the Bretton Woods institution have been using to confuse us. And I will capture it in my books. Do away with GDP. If they're telling you we are the fastest growing economy, our GDP growing at double digit, it doesn't give you any meaning. It's just like a cosmetic. It puts the powder on your face, it lays the foundation, comes with the other one. Chidera will help us with all the processes involved in cosmetics. And what it gives you. Have you seen pictures or videos of a woman with a so to say ugly face before and after the makeup? You've seen them before. You see her before. Then when they come with these statistics, make the person up or make the economy up, the outcome, you swear that they are different, is different from the other one. So that's what GDP, GNP, all those inflation rates, that's what they are doing. They are confusing people. There are replacements for them. And I've continued to shout them. 3 macroeconomic indices you should use to replace the likes of GDP. Poverty rate, unemployment rate, inequality rate. These are the indices that will tell you the qualitative state of the human being. If you say Nigeria has the largest economy in Africa, and you still have the largest number of poor people in the world, it's contradictory. It doesn't give you a meaning. But if you say poverty rate in Nigeria is lowest in the world, you see it reflect on the faces of people on the streets.
I agree with you to the extent that we need to look at the poverty rate, we need to look at the employment rate, and the inequality rate as well. But you cannot completely do away with the macro.
No, that they should be secondary, not primary.
Yes. Because eventually they are the like I said, they are the financial. The economy stands on 2 legs: the financial aspect and the fiscal aspect. And that is what the monetary and the fiscal. And when you strengthen the monetary with the fighting inflation, and cash control and all of those sort that CBN has done, you begin to see this kind of macro indices that were the president and his team has been
macro, physical,
so
monetary, name them. They are all those statistics we go chop.
They are important. The challenge for most countries is how to translate those macro indices to the micro.
That's from quantity to quality. Which is difficult.
It's not difficult. I'm not sure it's difficult.
It's difficult in our own life.
That's a challenge. And we can, the truth of the matter is, some of we can learn, and some of us have been given, the free advice. Nothing stops our economic team or even the president himself from, I think he visited India or so, from taking a study at what India has done, for instance. With the big, large population that they have, how many times that of Nigeria, they've been able to lift a lot of people out of poverty.
It wasn't a magic. They did simple things in the most simple
ways. And that is what we say. We need to understudy what India has done. So that we can also, adopt.
Till you get the type of leaders India had, who were out to lift the people out of the economy, who were out to impact positively on the people, and not to loot the treasury and not to enrich themselves. It's as simple as ABC. Look at our potentials, what we have. Many countries of the world are dreaming, praying that God will give them a quarter of what we have. But God gave us all this
everything
and gave us the worst set of leaders.
No, I'm not sure God gave us the worst set of
the worst set of He brings the best.
We are the ones who have created those leaders because we have failed to hold them accountable, you know, and all. And what did India, for instance, do? Very simple. We've shouted it here over and over. Paying attention to SMEs, for instance, as the engine room.
That's job creation.
It was massive. Yes. Look at the way they took on IT, information technology, tech. It was completely when nobody creating millions of jobs. Look at the way they took on pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
Investing in small.
Today they are exporting drugs to every part of the world.
But when you talk about that, everybody, when you talk about job creation, they are looking at maybe federal government doing jobs, and all of that.
They are productive jobs.
Completely. We need to focus, and even those who are, in government jobs or even other private. I always encourage, look for something else to do. Federal government good enough is focusing on skills, and all. So we hope that the next generation will be completely different, perhaps from ours and the rest, so that people will have things that even if you are in paid employment, nothing stops you from getting involved in stocks, for instance. Nothing stops you from getting involved in agriculture. Nothing stops you from getting involved
economically and financially literate and active,
and all of that. And supply, and we were just discussing. And what did Dangote tell the vice president and others at the launch of the industry blueprint and all of it? He said, look, fixed power. If the factors of production, you won't find electricity or power supply because it is a given.
It's assumed
that it already exists. And how do we fix that? When you say, we're not generating, forget about Gencos and all these corrupt people who have created problems for this country. Let's invest in renewable energy. No government project today, you should not commission a government building that is not
mainstream renewable energy into every public project.
Or federal secretariat, state secretariat, government,
move
everybody from the so-called national grid that is a
failure. If I'm the Minister of Science and Technology, or if I'm the President and I appoint Minister of Science and Technology, I will only give the Minister one charge. I will say in 2 years, you tell me what you need, and I'll give you one milestone to meet. Sunshine is abundant in Nigeria. Even on those stages, 50 years ago, when I'm flying into Europe, if I'm landing on any airport in Europe, you see solar panels on their roofs. Temporary region. The best, if they are lucky during summer, they see 5 hours of sunshine. Here, we see more than 12 hours of sunshine, but we're not making use of it. I'll tell the Minister of Science and Technology in 2 years, get your research institutes going. Let's get a solar panel that will serve as roofing sheet. Because we put roofing sheet, spend money on it, then we spend money buying solar panels and destroying the aesthetic beauty. So instead of doing that roofing sheet, make it a solar panel, do the research, make it safe in terms of fire outbreak, make it soundproof, make it insulated from heat and all that. And that's what we'll begin to share with the rest of the world.
And the states that are shouting desertification and all of that, turn that desert into, there's almost wind.
Solar
farms, wind wasting. Even the wind energy is wasting.
Because their intention is not to add value to you. They came into government to fill their pockets. So that's why I said, and I repeat, when you have leaders who have your interests at heart, will make progress within 2 years. Within 1 year, we'll arrest the drift, and within the next 1 year, you see the progress that we have made because the potentials there are so much. That's why I always tell them, those in government, don't concentrate on the economy. concentrate on the people.
Yeah.
There's this due attention on the economy. That's why if you ask them, they begin to churn out these statistics we go chop. You tell me about the welfare. Are the people happy? Are they healthy? Are they educated? That's what you get when you do it. But last time, is it Achira, are you ready now?
Oh, yes, we are.
Where is your pair? Fumi is there. So on our YouTube page, the male readers were struggling with the papers, and one of them helped us saying in this age and time, this AI time, so we have resorted to devices. We are now paperless as far as our mails are concerned.
Well, we take that as an advice and we've heard to you. So thank you, good morning, and welcome to the mail segment on the political platform. My name is Fumilayo Emopai.
And I am Chidera Izudoi. Our first mail is coming from Kogi State, and Owocho Akubu is saying, as you go into retirement in earnest, we the rural Nigerians that your actions in office as IGP impacted positively wish you well. We may not have the privilege of the loudness of the city elites yet. You listened to our complaints and used your good office to proffer solutions. Your instructions to the Kogi State Police Command to investigate a protracted family land dispute in a Ete community, a remote community without police response and presence, was professionally handled and resolved amicably. Your actions in office as IGP and those of the former IGP, Sir Mike Okiro, adequately addressed the plights of rural Nigerians. When you think about your service to the fatherland, be completely assured that you gave your best and that you met our expectations. And it is our prayer that God grants you good health and peace in retirement.
Okay, Olubenga Oresajo writes from Lagos, Ishashi, Lagos, and it says the resignation of the Inspector General of Police and the subsequent appointment of the acting Inspector General of Police by the President is making waves because some senior officers were not considered to occupy the position. Let's note that the office of the Inspector General of the Police is a highly sensitive national assignment, and some of the qualities required transcends that of the individual to be so appointed. Qualifications of the individual is paramount. The loyalty of the individual and the zone the individual comes from speaks volume, as his kinsmen can influence his decisions even against his wishes. DIG Frank Mba, a fine officer who earned the respect of fellow officers and Nigerians, may have individually earned the qualities for the IGP appointment, but signals from his zone of dissent is not encouraging.
Emeka from Abuja is saying, I make bold to submit that it is insincerity of purpose by the leaders who appoint and control the electoral umpire that make the job of INEC appear to be rocket science and an uphill task. INEC is always availed more than enough funds and other means needed to organize elections seamlessly. But because the word independent behind the electoral body is only a mirage, it throws up all manner of shenanigans to please their paymasters. If we are really serious about getting our elections right, the president must be stripped of the powers of solely appointing the INEC chairman to make the body truly independent. But if the president must appoint, let him appoint men and women of visibly proven integrity. President Tinubu must be reminded that it was an appointment like that of Professor Atahiru Jega that made it possible for his then opposition APC to convincingly defeat a sitting president, Jonathan, and ultimately led to his occupying the seat of the president today. Let the president, for instance, appoint someone like Mike Igini, the former resident electoral commissioner of Akwa Ibom State, and see how possible and easy it is to have seamless and acceptable elections in Nigeria. Let us stop playing this ostrich already.
Chidike Ejiofor from Kuje, Abuja also is writing us, and this is an advice to the political platform crew. He says, if you permit me, one Achilles heel I have observed lately in the 30 minutes political platform program is poor time management by the presenters, which is a critical factor in the broadcast industry. Even in your introduction, everyone spends needless time greeting everybody in all parts of the world as if you have an eon to spend, especially Adebayo Bodorin, who would first greet both the living and the dead in stark insensitivity to the constraint of time before addressing the main subject. He sits oddly with air, manners, and professionalism, which demands crisp and concise presentation like a pro, rather than the lax attitude like men sitting over a keg of palm wine in a village square. Such obsequious greeting yawn up an emptiness in a natural person and presents the one practicing it as fake and immature. You can't spend 5 minutes in greeting in a 30 minutes program. Secondly, it would make a more rational time management, for instance, when many of you are in the studio to allot topics to individuals rather than have five persons to speak on a single topic and you have to end the program without addressing half of the outlined topics. A simple good morning, Nigerians should suffice for an introduction to tame this unhealthy culture. Or if it sounds too casual to you, an additional welcome to the program amplifies and satisfies the introductory broadcast etiquette without being punctilious. And political platform will be richer and more mature and fun.
Okay. Laji Abbas is saying the United States demand Nigeria scraps Sharia law as though sovereignty were a privilege granted abroad. Yet moral authority must be earned, not assumed.
Okay, Akedeno from Songo Elta in Ogun State. It says, please be mindful with the UN CPC Act 2005, which has given the powers to the US to intervene in any country where religious persecution and election rigging and persecution of opponents are perceived to be the norm.
And that is how far we can go on the mail segment. Keep sending in your mails to politicalplatform@darkgroup.com.
Thank you so much for the mails and for the criticisms. We'll continue to enjoy them and see what we can do. Strong lessons and we'll make so much effort to improve. Just to tell you, yes, Adiba Badre agrees the living and the dead because he's the Balogo. He comes, he communicates with the dead, apart from the living also. That's by the way. Political violence ahead of 2027 election. We didn't have time yesterday, and developments in Edo State concerning P2B and other. The Edo State government has washed its hands off it, saying it's an internal ADC issue, but ADC itself and P2B believes otherwise.
Indeed, we've heard several accounts of what has happened, even from those who were there. The reports we have are that, some of them got intelligence while they were at the ADC State Secretariat in Benin City, that the secretariat was going to be attacked. So they hurriedly tidied up the program and left. Unfortunately, their supporters did not leave immediately. So there were attacks, some persons sustained injuries and all of that when they moved to the former governor's house. And unfortunately, the house also came under the kind of attack. We only expect that something will be done. There will be not just investigation.
Now something will be done. Whether it's ADC versus ADC or ADC versus others. How many hours, how many days after? No arrest, no prosecution. This is what we shouldn't wait because these things happened in full glare. That's before nightfall that day. Those responsible should have been arrested. That's the only way the state can prove that it's not behind it.
Indeed, we like I said, investigation. Police will tell you, if you meet them now, they will tell you they are on top of the situation. Investigation is continuing and all of that. But I expect that somebody like the former governor Oyegun would have had CCTV cameras in his house, because from the reports we have that the people who shot drove forward and drove back again shooting. And all of that. So we expect that the CCTV cameras most probably should have captured something that can be provided, for security to look at. And then if the party secretariat, it should be a standard policy.
The security agencies are aware of those that carried out the attack. Even with...
I wouldn't want to assume.
If those are I have to assume here, if those are the venue who are ordinary citizens knew through intelligence that an attack will take place. The security agencies that monitor everything would have gotten rid of it early enough. Don't you think so?
No, that attack will happen, but who carried out the attack?
No, but when you know
an
attack is coming, it must come from somewhere.
For sure. But who out of the sure people you are talking about actually carried out the attack? You know, if you pick up one person and the person start naming other people, then you can base on that testimony.
And it was done during the day. They didn't wear masks.
You know, so let's assume that maybe because there was a transition in the leadership of the police, but that shouldn't have been. We expect that the acting IG, when he gets the president, yesterday the president said, "Oh, our problem is terrorism and banditry," and I was asking myself, terrorism, is it the police that fight terrorism, the police that fight banditry going by our laws, you know, as it were? You know, we expect the internal security is very clear on what the police needs to do. The good thing is they said he was in charge of some good boys in Lagos, you know, and all of that. So we expect, you know, that there will be some change. But that's always the expectation when you people come in. But what will happen eventually, we'll see.
The danger is that when this kind of a thing happens and we excuse it and look the other way, we don't know the wider implications in the build up to the election. When violence happens and is not nipped in the bud, plainly and clearly dealt with, justice done, the victims will now know that they may not find solace in state system, state architecture, and conventional security system. They may want to resort to self-help. And it's dangerous. So that's why we are raising this issue. There's every need. As we head towards the election, more of this will happen. It happens elsewhere, but they are soft. Those behind them are soft. So the police, the state, has that responsibility to quickly, not investigation continues, solve this so that we can protect our nation in the long term.
And it's because somebody like Peter Obi and others were involved in this incident. Or were around the scene. That's why he got the kind of media attention. There are several of these in Benue. I can't even count how many, you know, at party registration, at church services.
In those states. Some people were killed in
APC Congress. You know, and it's almost happening everywhere. So something needs to be done.
We have to go. So we shouldn't excuse it. Yes. We must deal with it. We can't be like the ostrich that bury his head in the sand thinking that is hidden away. The whole body is open, and that is exactly what is happening. We are sounding a note of warning to those in authority to do the needful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good time.